In this video we are going to make our tower shoot. In the last video we made sure that our towers could grab a target whenever any of the monsters walked into the tower's range here. So we could see here we have null, no target, and if we select the tower, then we'll see we have a monster, green monster as target. So now we will have to make sure that the tower can attack that monster. And to do that we will have to go to our tower script. And inside that tower script we will have to create a new function. We already have an attack function here, which makes sure that we can attack the next monster, but we will also have to add a shoot function. So I'm going to divide it into two functions, shoot and attack. If you would like to, you could also just keep it in the same function, but I've decided to divide it into two different functions just to make it easier for me to figure out what code does what kind of job. So I'm going to make a private void called shoot, and this shoot function here, if I could hit my keys correctly here, there we go. This shoot function here needs to instantiate some kind of projectile that it can move around, for example, right? So we will have to create a projectile prefab, but there's no reason to give it to the tower, I think, because we have an object pool, and the object pool is going to create our projectiles. So if I write projectile, then we see we don't have the script yet, so we might as well just jump to Unity, go to scripts, and right click, create C# script, and write projectile. There we go. Okay. So this is our projectile script. Right now there is no functionality in it, but we will add that soon. Just open it up so that you have the script open. Okay. So now our projectile here lights up light blue because we have the class, and we are going to write projectile. And we need to get the projectile from somewhere, right? Let's say this script, it will be sitting on all the towers at some point, but later I will be creating a fire tower script, a frost tower script, and poison tower script, and storm tower script. So I will be creating scripts for every single tower. So this will be the superclass, and we will make subclasses that inherit from this tower here later, because they have some functionality that are specific for themselves. But all towers needs a projectile, so we can make a private string called projectile type, right? And this is the projectiles type, right? So we can set that, and I am going to serialize this, serialize field, so that we can see it from the inspector, so we can go out there and write, well, this is a fire tower, so projectile type is fire, for example. We could also do that from the scripts, but for now let's just keep it here. Okay, so we need to instantiate a projectile. We have to add it to the actual object pool here, but we also need to say game manager that instance that object what's it called, pool, I think, yeah, that get object, because we need to get the actual object here so that we can initialize it and say where it needs to spawn and everything, right? So let's just start with doing like this. We can do it step by step so you can see what actually happens here. So let's just instantiate it for now, and then later we can move it to the correct position. So get object, and well, we need to get it the projectile type here. What does it want? It wants a string. And what does it contain when commit time in game? Yeah, okay. And we need to projectile. Oh, wait a minute. I've been coding too much. Clean C# here. Get component projectile. Sorry, it's a while since I've been coding in Unity. Yeah, so we get the projectile prefab. So we ask the object pool for a projectile with the projectile type, a game object with the projectile type, sorry, and then we get the component projectile and return it into this one, so we can change the projectile as we want it after we have shot. For example, changing the position and so on, and pointing it in the right direction and such. Okay. What else? It's just, yeah, we can try to do this. So if we have a target, if our target is null and our monster count is larger than 0, then we pop monster, and we can say if our target isn't null, and let's say that our target dot is active. So this is very important. This line of code here is very important, because if we don't check if the target is active, well, then we might start attacking something that isn't active or isn't in the game anymore. Remember, when we move out, when a monster dies, it gets inactive. So just to make sure that we don't attack something that is inactive, we just add this to the if statement. For example, if one tower kills the monster, then this tower still has it on target. Well, then it's very bad, because then we will keep attacking it as long as it's if we don't have this check here. That's why we have that check, so we don't attack something that is dead or not in the game at the moment. So let's try to just pull shoot out here. So if we have a target that is null, if it is still exists and is active, then we shoot at it. So if we jump back to Unity, I will have to add the projectiles, the sprites for the projectiles, to my project here, because I don't have them at the moment. They should be inside the towers, but I'm pretty sure I don't have them. Yeah, I don't have them, so I have to add them. So let's just go to towers and then create a new folder called projectiles. Go, and if I open up projectiles, then I can pull from off screen here all my my projectiles here. Yeah, but I don't really need all of them right now. I actually just need one of them just to demonstrate. But I guess I'll just add them. Give them 1 second. We have storm, fire, and poison, and then we need ice. If only I could find it. Sorry about that. Give me 1 sec. Let's see here. We have an ice here. There we go. And I'll just rename them so that they have correct names here. And fire. There we go. Okay. So now we have fire, ice, lighting, and poison. And you might see that the ice has another rotation than the others. That's because later, when we need to shoot them, we actually need the sprite here to be facing right, because when we rotate the image to make sure that it faces the monsters it's flying towards when it's rotating, it's easier for us if we just rotate them to the right. So we can actually just show in folder here, right click show in folder, go to projectiles, and then open them up, and then just rotate here. Rotate a couple of times. I think it needs to turn that direction, but you can always do that. If you have some problems with it, just make sure that they're rotated towards the right, I think. Now we'll see what actually happens when we need to use them. Maybe I rotated it wrong, but we'll see. Anyway, let's try to create a prefab. Let's just use the fire. So take the fire and pull it in, and just name it fire projectile, and then go to your prefabs, and you can make a new folder called projectiles, and in here we just pull in the fire projectile. Okay, so now we have a fire projectile. We need to add component called projectile, so it has the script on it, so we don't get a null reference when we try to take the script from it. And then we will have to go to our script, and actually don't do anything now. I just want to show you here. This line of code here will give us an error if we don't put that projectile on the actual projectile script on the actual projectile. That's what I want to say, sorry. Okay, so now that we have this projectile here, we can go to our game manager, and we can say we have element 4 here. can take the fire projectile and pull it up here so that it is in the object pool. And let's just take let's see, we have some tower prefabs here. Let's take our fire tower, and let's see, we have on the range we have a projectile type, and if we write fire projectile, and it's very important you spell this the same way as you spelled the fire projectile here. If you don't spell it the same way, then you're going to have a problem because it's not going to find the right prefab. Okay, so let's try to run the game and see what actually happens if we place a fire tower here and we play. So now you see we have lots of fire projectiles in our hierarchy, and they're all placed in the middle here, and it's way too large, that fire also as well. So we will have to place it on the tower's position, and we'll have to scale it a little down. So let's go to our sprites and pro towers and projectiles, and just select all of them and say that the pixel per unit is 300 and apply. Okay, so now it should be a little small. Let's try to play again. I forgot to place a tower, sorry. Let's try to play one more time. So now the projectile is way smaller and fits the size of the tower, right? So when we've done that, we need to stop this from happening. There's way too many fire projectiles, and they're also placed at the wrong position. So placing them at the right position, that's fairly easy, right? Because we simply need to go to our projectile what's called shoot function, and on that shoot function we will have to make sure that it has the right position. So we can simply do like this, say projectile dot transform the position equals transform the position. So now our projectile will spawn in the middle of our tower. So because we're setting transform the position, we'll transform position, this is inside the tower, this on the tower, so we can just take the tower's position itself and say that the projectile should spawn at that position, right? Let's try to run this and see what happens here. Place our fire tower and run again. Okay, and let's see, where are they? Well, they're placed right behind the tower, so that's a problem here, right? Because we can't see it right now because of the tower, so we have to select our projectile prefab here and say the order and layer is 3, for example. We would like our projectiles to be on top of everything, so let's just keep it at 3, because we'd like to see them no matter where they go. See here, and there we go. Now we can see our projectile is spawned right in the middle of our fire tower here, but it's not moving yet, and we are firing too many projectiles. So let's try to make sure that we don't fire too many projectiles first. So to make sure we don't fire too many projectiles, we can add something to the attack function. First of all, we need to make a bool that indicates if our tower is able to attack or not, right? Let's make a private bool called can attack, and from the get-go in start we just say can attack equals true. Or actually, you know what, let's just do it up here, it's the same. Okay, so can attack is true, so we can attack from the get-go. So when we attack here, let's see here, sorry, we're shooting. So we are only able to shoot if can attack is true. That's the only time that we would like to shoot and fire anything. Yes. So when we have shot something here, we say that can attack equals false. In that way, we will have can attack is true, we shoot, we set it to false, and then we are not going to be able to get in here again. So if you have this construction now and you jump back to the game, you'll notice that it will only be able to fire one single projectile. As you can see, it fired one projectile, there's only one fire projectile. We don't have a full hierarchy of fire projectiles anymore. Okay, so that's one part of it. The next thing we'll have to do is to make sure that when our target gets out of range, we'll also have to reset it, right? Because right now, or when a target dies, sorry. You know what? Let's wait with that. Sorry, I'm just talking while thinking here. Let's wait with making sure that what happens when they die, because we can't kill the monsters yet. There's no reason for us to take our time to write some code for when they die. So let's wait with that. On the other hand, what I would like to do is to make sure that we can fire again after a while. So we need some kind of attack timer, so that we know how much time how often our towers can attack, right? So let's go up here and say after can attack, make a private float called attack timer. So our attack timer decides how often we can attack. And yeah, what do we do? Our attack timer is 0. Let's see here. So our attack timer needs to count up all the time, and when the attack timer is over a specific limit, it will be able to fire again, right? So okay, our attack timer doesn't decide how often we can attack, but it keeps track of if we are able to attack again. Because we need to add something else also. We also need to add something called an attack cooldown. So after our attack timer, we can make a private float called attack cooldown. Okay, so this is our attack cooldown, and the attack cooldown decides how often we can attack. We would like to set this for each tower, so let's just say that this is a serialized field, so we can set it from the inspector. Yeah. Anyway, inside the attack function, we do like so. If can attack. So if can attack is false, well, that means we have fired a projectile, and we need to check if we can fire again at some point. That means we take our attack timer and add the time.delta time to it. So at some point, delta time it's increased every frame, how much time was passed since last frame and such, and we add it to the attack timer, which means this is actually a millisecond counter, so to say. So the attack timer is increased on every single frame. At some point, we can say if our attack timer is larger or equal to our attack cooldown. So let's say our attack cooldown is 1 second. At some point, we have added enough time to this attack timer here. And when it has added enough time, it will be larger or equal to the attack cooldown. Attack cooldown here, and when that is true, we say can attack equals true and attack timer equals 0, because we just reset it, right? When we shoot, or when we can shoot, we reset it so that it's 0. Okay, I hope that makes sense, right? We have a boolean. Let's just go over it so you make sure that you understand it. If we have a target and the target is active and we can attack, we shoot, and then we say can attack to false again, so this code here will not be able to be executed again. In the top here we say, okay, if attack is false, which it is after we fired, we say, well, we have an attack timer, and we add the time since last update, and we keep adding the time. At some point the time is larger than our cooldown. Let's say our cooldown is 1 second. If it's larger than our cooldown, well, then we can attack again, and we reset our attack timer. So we need to set this attack cooldown somehow. We can set it if we go to our prefabs somewhere. I'm blind here. There, towers. Fire tower range. Attack cooldown is 0. Yeah, what would we want it to be? The attack cooldown. Let's see what I used before. I used 3. Okay, so let's try it 3 seconds. You can always put it to whatever you want to. But as I can see, I wrote 3 earlier when I created this. So let's try play this. Fire tower placed. Next wave. Let's see. Our first fire projectile. After 3 seconds, second fire projectile. See if it managed to shoot again. It didn't, because it ran out of range. But now we have 2 fire projectiles here, which are instantiated based on the cooldown. Okay. That is it for this video, because I don't think we can do much more. We are running kind of out of time here. In the next video we will make sure that projectiles follow the monsters, and that they point towards the monsters when they follow them, so they will aim in the direction they're flying. And we will also be adding the attack, what's called the attack animation to the tower, so they play out their attack animation. So you can see there's an attack animation for each tower, and it will be played out when it fires the projectile. So thank you very much for watching, and remember to follow me on Twitter, like my Facebook page, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it already. Also remember that InScope Studios is community founded, so all your support really helps me out a lot. You can support me on Patreon. If you do so, you can download all my projects, or you can get private tutoring, or anything else. Or you can also support me by getting one of my projects as a standalone product by clicking the bottom link on the screen. So thank you very much for watching.